America's debt just hit $38 trillion, a record high. The government is shut down. The economy is under strain. Prices are rising, loans are costlier, and wages are falling behind. Experts warn the United States is running out of time. The question now, can America afford its own future, or is debt driving it? The United States economy has hit a new low. That too, in the midst of a federal government shutdown. The US government's gross national debt surpassed $38 trillion on October 22nd, a record number that highlights the accelerating accumulation of debt on America's balance sheet. According to a report by the Associated Press, it is also the fastest accumulation of $1 trillion in debt outside of the COVID-19 pandemic. The United States hit $37 trillion in gross national debt in August this year. The $38 trillion update is found in the latest Treasury Department report, which logs the nation's daily finances. Kent Smetters of the University of Pennsylvania's Penn-Wharton budget model, who served in President George W. Bush's Treasury Department, told the Associated Press that a growing debt load over time leads ultimately to higher inflation, eroding Americans' purchasing power. The Government Accountability Office outlines some of the impacts of rising government debt on Americans, including higher borrowing costs for things like mortgages and cars, lower wages from businesses having less money available to invest, and more expensive goods and services.
I think a lot of people want to know that their kids and grandkids are going to be in good, decent shape in the future, that they will be able to afford a house, that additional inflation compounds and erodes consumers' purchasing power.
The Joint Economic Committee estimates that the total national debt has grown by $69,713.82 per second for the past year. Michael Peterson, Chair and CEO of the Peter G. Peterson Foundation, said in a statement that reaching $38 trillion in debt during a government shutdown is the latest troubling sign that lawmakers are not meeting their basic fiscal duties.
Along with increasing debt, you get higher interest costs, which are now the fastest growing part of the budget. We spent $4 trillion on interest over the last decade, but we'll spend $14 trillion in the next 10 years. Interest costs crowd out important public and private investments in our future, harming the economy for every American.
The country's mounting debt comes as the government remains closed, disrupting the economy as hundreds of thousands of federal workers go unpaid. Government shutdowns can boost the national debt because they delay economic activity and postpone fiscal decisions, while pausing federal programs and starting them up again can also increase costs. The Office of Management and Budget estimated that a $2 billion United States government shutdown in 2013 cost in lost worker productivity. However, this record-breaking debt milestone could not have come at a worse time. With Washington gridlocked and agencies shuttered, critical economic functions are slowing to a crawl. Markets are jittery, investors are cautious, and households are feeling the uncertainty seep into their daily lives. The longer the stalemate drags on, the deeper the financial strain grows. Amid this fiscal chaos, frustration is mounting among economists and watchdog groups. They warn that America's growing debt is not just a number. It is a symptom of deeper political dysfunction and years of deferred responsibility. MacGuineas, president of the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget and a prominent voice on the nation's fiscal policies, also expressed concern at the record-breaking national debt.
The reality is that we are becoming distressingly numb to our own dysfunction. We fail to pass budgets, we blow past deadlines, we ignore fiscal safeguards, and we haggle over fractions of a budget while leaving the largest drivers untouched. Social Security and Medicare, for example, are just 7 years from having their trust funds depleted, and you do not hear anything from our political leaders on how to avoid such a disaster.
The United States surpassing a debt level of $38 trillion has several significant impacts on the economy and American citizens. Some of these major implications include As debt levels rise, the government faces increased interest expenses, which can lead to higher borrowing costs for consumers seeking mortgages, auto loans, and business financing. Experts warn that sustained high debt can contribute to inflation, eroding consumers' purchasing power and making goods and services more expensive. Rising debt and interest payments may lead to reduced wages in the private sector and increased prices for goods and services, impacting household budgets. The projections show that interest costs could reach $14 trillion over the next decade, tripling from current levels, which will significantly strain federal finances and crowd out other important investments or social programs. The accumulating debt jeopardizes fiscal sustainability, potentially leading to higher taxes, austerity measures, or austerity-driven policies in the future. Higher borrowing costs translate to increased monthly mortgage payments and financing expenses, which can strain homeowners, particularly those who took out mortgages recently at high home prices and rates. As America's debt spirals beyond $38 trillion, the ripple effects are already hitting ordinary citizens, from pricier mortgages to shrinking paychecks and soaring living costs. Economists caution that without urgent fiscal reforms, the United States risks burdening future generations with unsustainable debt, eroded economic stability, and a vanishing promise of financial security.